Hello YouTube, I am Southern Wolverine, and this is more Rome 2 Total War 2 on 2 battle action. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and get this started, at least in slow motion. Here is my Carthaginian general on, of course, his African War Elephant unit that is so hard to pass up on. Out in front of him, he's got two lines of infantry intermingled with two lines of skirmishers. These skirmishers, I have three Balearic slingers as my lead element, two Libyan peltists for coming in hitting heavy infantry and things like that. My first line is flanked by three units of Carthaginian hoplites, one on this side, two on the far side, and the center force is three African pikemen, which are primarily there for area denial, and any damage they can do is of course a bonus. The rear line has two of these excellent units of mercenary noble fighters, and in the center two units of solid Libyan infantry. My cavalry force, I was attempting to hide them behind this dune. We're of course on the Memphis map. And I did not entirely succeed. As you see, only one of them was hidden, so the Roman player in front of me of course is able to see that they're there, and he spots them fairly quickly. But in any case, it's two Campanian cav and two Carthaginian cav. My ally is also Carthage. He has mercenary noble fighters here and two units of mercenary noble fighters here in the woods in the center. He also has some Libyan infantry and then a line of late Carthaginian hoplites, I believe 6 of them. No, I'm sorry, some of them are African pikemen. 3 pikes and 3 or 4 Carthaginian hoplites. He also has 4 Balearic slingers, his general's bodyguard, and some noble and Carthaginian cav in the back here, and this one unit of mercenary Numidian noble cav. Noble cav? That's an entirely different thing, which I won't get into this video. Noble cav, very solid unit, very cool. I love the helmets on these guys. I don't know what it is about them. Just very solid looking. In case we are facing off against Suebi, how they got to the deserts of Memphis, I don't know. Perhaps the Romans brought them as mercenaries. A whole bunch of sword masters, looks like 6 units of them. And these guys, they're in the IG clan. I don't know what exactly that is, but it's whatever. So apparently they are in the same clan according to their names. You'll see in the post commentary. Behind his 6 sword masters, he's got 4 units of berserkers, 3 units of noble riders, and in here that I did not know was there are, I believe, 6 units of the hunter units, the ones that are always stealthed. So yeah, that's going to come as a bit of a surprise to me, which you'll see, but it won't end up really changing the battle all that much. So the Suebi, very elite melee force, no spears, although he's got 3 very solid cavalry units. The Roman force here has, unsurprisingly, a front line of heavy infantry, veteran legionaries, something like 6 of them, commanded by a legatus, which seems to be the standard. 4 Balearic slingers, the other 2 are hidden on the other flank. He has 4 Praetorian cavalry and 2 of these auxiliary Numidian cavalry. Okay, so as I initially moved out to engage Rome, while I was sort of still scouting out the content of the 2 armies we were facing. And I would just like to say in advance, I did not have a minimap during this battle. We had battle realism on. And as always, I don't pay attention to those things, so I was surprised to not have a minimap. But I was able to make the best of it. And it's not that big a deal. It's the restricted camera that bothers me more than anything else. The lack of a minimap is annoying, but not critical. So as once again we show up as red on the minimap for some reason, which I'm not entirely sure why, but we do. So my ally has sent out his cavalry force, and the Suebi player has sent all of his noble riders to engage them, and this is sort of stalemated here. Now if I were the Suebi, I would have started bringing sword masters and berserkers out into this fight to try to tip the balance, since his support is close by. Instead, he's bringing out his longbow hunters to engage these Cretan archers, I, seeing not a single spear in this entire force, have brought my African war elephants over. But the Suebi guy very quickly switched into flaming shot and sent them out of control. Fortunately, they did this and smacked right through a couple units of swordmasters and berserkers and just absolutely stomped this entire flank. Now he responds just trying to swamp them, I think, but he kept firing flaming shot at them, and flaming shot does less damage, so it's really just pissing the elephants off. He should have switched back to regular shot or something after they had already panicked. And besides, at this point, you really just want to do damage. They're already panicking, and they're still stomping your army, so it's time to try something else. In any case, while that's going on, this cavalry fight continues to sort of hold in place. The Numidian noble cav have pulled out so as to use their javelins for as long as possible. The skirmish fight is going on very well for my ally, as the enemy skirmishers are quite distracted by this point. I have lost 2 elephants, unfortunately, which is something of a problem, but not that bad. Meanwhile, I've pulled my entire army back, and I'm trying to form a line, you know, here on the flank of my ally. He unfortunately forgot about these 2 Numidian noble fighters, or mercenary noble fighters, rather, while he was engaged in all of this. So I'm just yielding this flank to Rome until we can deal with Suebi, and then we can take them 2-on-1. My cavalry, while it was loose, was trying to run some strikes out on here. They did some damage, and I'm going to pull them out. Now the Carthaginian cav, or rather the Campanian cav, are going to come in, and they're also going to run a strike, and they're going to do some damage, stay there for a bit, and then pull out as well. So the Suebi player is pretty well wrecked. He's got a couple of units left over here. 2 of his noble riders are surprisingly still alive despite being engaged, but his infantry force basically has ceased to exist at this point. They'll do some damage against these late Carthaginian hoplites, but there's just too many of them. So I'm now set up. I've got my pikes in the center trying to hold this point. I got my slingers are going to pull back directly behind them, you see here, and try to work from there. The cavalry of the Roman players all moved around to my right, so I'm attempting to use the Carthaginian hoplites. I'll continue kind of moving them and shifting them in an attempt to hold these guys off. The Carthaginian cavalry will help in that regard, and my sword force is also moved in that direction, even though they're not the ideal force for engaging those guys.
Engage!
Here I'm trying to get my elephants. I got another sword heavy force with no spears and no javelins out in front of me. I'm trying to get my elephants once more to bear against them now that I have control of them again. So I'm trying to get my Campanian cavalry out here to engage the Praetorians. I got my units mixed around in the battle. Honestly, I thought these were the Carthaginian cavalry. Otherwise, I probably would have just sent them in to engage these Praetorians one-on-one. Now watch what happens to my elephants, though. He gives a multiple unit charge order from these veteran legionaries, and the javelins just wrecked my war elephant unit. They took a lot of damage in that initial charge, thundering, stomping of the enemy Suebi troops, and that damage was significant enough that those javelins that they threw on the charge, the Roman legionaries, was enough to finish them off. So I lost a lot of elephants very quickly right there. I was not quite prepared for that, so I pulled my Campanian cav out while I tried to come up with an alternate strategy. I was really hoping to take out a couple of those units with my elephants. So in any case, I've decided to press the pikes forward since they have nothing in front of them. I was hoping to catch these guys. They did swarm and destroy those 2 veteran legionary, or veteran mercenary noble fighters, rather, which is kind of a big loss. That's a very elite unit. It's kind of unfortunate to lose them without having done more damage. But I'm able to get the pikes in position, which forces the Romans to pull back. So again, shadowing the cavalry with my spears, and bringing the cavalry in, and I'm sending these sword troops around to try to flank the Romans. I figure these guys, particularly the mercenary noble fighters, can do some pretty good damage in here against these veteran legionaries. So that's where I want them. And the pikes for now can just hold the line. The Roman player quickly sends another unit of veteran legionaries in to reinforce, as this unit would very quickly have been destroyed. In fact, it already lost probably 30 men since that fight started. They're a little bit under strength from missile fire. So in any case, I got another mercenary noble fighter that's going to come into this fight. The Carthaginian hoplites are going to come this way. The Roman player, in an attempt to get at our rear lines, I guess, has all his cavalry kind of bunched up here, except for that one Praetorian cavalry that was on the other flank, which is still there, just kind of holding out there. Lost one of my Carthaginian cavalry, you saw it rout away there. But I got a whole bunch of my Carthaginian hoplites engaged with his cavalry, which is right where I want them. And I'm keeping these cavalry away from the infantry engagement. He does have more cavalry than me, as I said at the beginning of the battle, so keeping them away from the fight is really a victory for me. I'm perfectly willing to accept that. What I'm a little worried about is as he pulls out here is that he's going to come back and hammer and anvil this fight. So you'll see I'm quickly going to start shifting the hoplites in this direction and attempt to re-engage him before he can come around for a good flank attack. So now we got a big sword engagement going on this side. The pikes have moved up to secure my flank. My pikes, in my attempt to micro them, got a little bit caught up, unfortunately, from the rear. So they're going to be in a little bit of trouble soon. But I've got these two unengaged Campanian cav, very dangerous units, and they're going to be able to come in from behind. Meanwhile, my ally has completely mopped up the Suebi, what was left after those various cavalry strikes and the elephant strike. And he's now bringing all his hoplites into this battle with the cavalry. So the Roman cavalry really can't hope to win this fight. There's just too many numbers here opposing them. Meanwhile, the flank of his infantry is breaking as well. And his Praetorian cav is forced to come over here and engage my Carthaginian cav to prevent an envelopment. And his Legatus came out the other way. I don't know if he was trying to keep him safe or if he was desperately trying to stop my Campanian cav. I mean, it could have been either one. But this Legatus bodyguard won't not last very long against these very good Campanian cav. So they're going to destroy him, and they are going to move into a rear charge. So there's not much in here left now, except for slingers and a couple of legionary units left. So one legionary unit has broken out in this direction as my ally starts to feed his hoplite units back in to help finish off these infantry. Although most of his troops are still engaged in this cavalry fight, although you see them wavering, they're not going to last much longer. Sorry, got to take a deep breath there. I feel like the action in this battle is happening so fast. I've been kind of jabbering constantly. So this one unit that broke through did get away, got kind of caught by these pikes and ended up routing. And the last unit on the field is that veteran legionary unit, Praetorian cavalry unit over there rather, and they just can't fight alone against this many men. So very, very hectic battle there. A lot of stuff happening. Tried to show it all to you. Hopefully I succeeded. Of course, the standout unit in my army has got to be the African war elephants. Yes, I lost them all, but they gained 5 chevrons of veterancy on their way to 651 kills. The vast bulk of that was against the Suebi, who didn't have much to stop them with. And then they got maybe 80 kills on those legionaries before the charge and the Pilla finished them off. The other stars for me was the mercenary Campanian cav, of course. 300 kills between them. Did quite a bit of running around. Didn't lose that many men really between them. They lost maybe 50 men between the two of them. I did lose more men than my ally, but I did a ton of damage, largely due to the 3 units I've already mentioned. And my swords also did reasonably well. My pikes kind of got beat up, and the skirmishing, honestly, there wasn't a whole lot of time for skirmishing, so the skirmishers didn't do a lot either. Although the Roman Balearic slingers, a couple of them had decent kills. His cavalry wasn't able to accomplish all that much. This one unit Praetorian cav did reasonably well, and some of his legionnaires did reasonably well also. For my ally, not much out of these auxiliary Numidian cavalry. I've always struggled to use them myself. Wait, that's still Rome. I'm looking at the wrong... sorry. Whatever. Okay, so the Numidian nobles did pretty well. Other than that, the cavalry didn't do great, but it's because they were fighting primarily against these noble riders, who are very good melee cavalry. His slingers were able to skirmish for a while, as were his archers, and they did a fair amount of damage. The pikes again didn't do a lot of damage, primarily used to hold ground, and his noble fighters unfortunately were kind of a wash because in his effort to finish off the Suebi he lost track of these two units. And the Suebi army, pretty much this unit of berserkers basically did well, and did some of the cavalry, and nothing else was really worth the points. You see, these 5 units of Swordmasters combined for 7 kills. This unit had 70, which sort of made up some of the difference. That was one of the units that the hoplites were struggling to finish off. And of course the longbow hunters only got 2 kills between the 5 of them. So the Suebi player didn't really accomplish a whole hell of a lot. But in any case, it ended up being a very exciting game. I was doing a lot of movement, trying to keep track of multiple theaters. And I'd like to thank Frank 457. He's very effective as an ally. And a good game, of course, to our opponents, Valerian and Baka. So in any case, if you like this video, please do hit the like button on this video, comment, subscribe, and all of that. I am Southern Wolverine, and I'd like to wish all of you a good day.